Yes. Hello, my dear students. Welcome to ICS Mahesh PU College, Dharwad. In previous sessions, we have already discussed two parts. So that is part 1 and part 2. In part 1 and part 2, we have covered up to 20 questions. That is 1 to 40 questions we have already completed. In today's session, we are going to discuss the part 3 questions. So that is from 41 to 60. Okay. So I will refer my mobile for the reference of the questions. Okay, we'll begin with the 41st question. So 41st question, just see that what it is saying. Two poles are separated by a distance of 3.14 meter. The resolving power of human eye is 1 minute of an arc. The maximum distance from which he can identify the two poles distinctly. Okay, so here we need to calculate what is the maximum distance. Okay, so what is the maximum distance from which he can identify the two poles distinctly? So that we have to find out. Now here in the 41st question, see, they have given some distances here. Two poles are separated by some distance. So that is 3.14 meter. Suppose here this is one pole. Okay, here you are having another pole. So these two poles are separated by a distance 3.14 meter. Okay, so this is the distance what we are getting. Now, if a person is watching from here, okay, if a person is watching from here, so then these two, for him, these two poles are separated by this distance. Okay, he is watching from here. So what is the angle created here? What is the angle created here? So the angle created here is theta. Okay, the angle created by him is theta. So what is the maximum distance between the two poles and that person is this one. So let us take this as x. Okay, I will take this distance as x. Now, how you calculate that? How you calculate? See, another thing they have given the resolving power of an human eye. So that resolving power itself is the theta there. Okay, yes, theta is equal to what? How much they have given? Theta is equal to 1 minute. Okay, theta is equal to 1 minute they have given. So I can write this as 1 minute can be written as 1 by 60 degree. Okay, 1 minute I can write it as 1 by 60 degree. So this 1 by 60 degree, if I convert it into pi radian, because in terms of radian, so then I can write it as 1 by 60 into pi by 180. Okay, then how much I am getting? So it is a pi divided by 60 into 180. It is 10800 radian. Okay, so this is the angle I am getting. Okay, so we have got theta here. We have got theta. Now, what is how you calculate this theta? How you calculate this theta? So here we know the formula. Theta is equal to arc upon radius. Okay, so theta is equal to arc upon radius. What is the arc you are getting here? Arc is 3.14 meter. So let us take this as 3.14 meter. Okay, and radius. Okay, radius what I am taken? Well, I have taken here as x. So this is divided by x. So theta is equal to 3.14 divided by x. So what we require here is x. So here x is equal to 3.14 divided by x is equal to 3.14 divided by theta. So here 3.14 divided by, what is the theta we have got? Theta value, it is pi by 10,800. Okay, so we know the value of pi as 3.142. So 3.14 and pi both will get cancelled each other. So this will come to the numerator. So it is 10800. If you see the options there, okay, if you see the options, in the option they have given it is 10.8 kilometer. Okay, so 10,800 meter I can write in terms of kilometer, it is 10.8 kilometer. That's it. So option A you can choose as your answer. Let us go to the next one. Okay, see the next question. In Young's double slit experiment, the distance between the slits and the screen is 1.2 meter. The distance between the slits and the screen. So that we write it as capital D. So capital D is how much? It is 1.2 meter. Okay. Then the distance between this between the two slits is 2.4 mm. So that we can write it as small d. It is 2.4 millimeter. If a thin transparent mica sheet of thickness 1 micrometer is placed, so that thickness we write it as in terms of T, so that is 1 micrometer, okay, and refractive index of 1.5, so that is mu. So mu is equal to how much? 1.5 is introduced between one of the interfering beams. The shift in the position of a central bright fringe is. So for the shift, what the formula we are using here is shift is equal to, shift can be written as mu into, okay, or I can write mu minus 1 into T. So capital D divided by small d. This is the formula. Okay, what is that? Shift is equal to mu minus 1 into T into capital D divided by small d. So what is mu here? It is 1.5. 1.5 minus 1, okay, into T. So thickness is how much? 1 micrometer. So it is 1 into 10 raised to minus 6, okay, into capital D is how much? It is 1.2 meter, 1.2. So this is divided by small d. Small d is how much? 2.4 mm. So it is 2.4 into 10 raised to minus 3. Okay. So here 1.5 minus 1. So here you are getting 0.5. 0.5 into 1.2. So how much you will get here? It is 0.6 into 10 raised to minus 6 divided by 2.4 into 10 raised to minus 3. Okay. So 0.6 divided by 2.4. So you are getting 1 by 4, 6 4s are, okay. So it is 1 by 4 into 10 raised to, if it comes to numerator, it will become positive. So it is 10 raised to minus 3. So what you are getting here is 0.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. Just go through with the options there. What you are having? Yes, option D is 0.25 mm you are having. So it is 10 raised to minus 3. So I can write this as 0.25 mm. Yes, option D should be your answer. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yes, the de Broglie wavelength associated with electron of hydrogen atom in this ground state is. Okay, so the de Broglie wavelength associated with, so you have to find out the wavelength here. Okay, so in the 43rd question, formula what we are having here is lambda is equal to h by p. Okay, lambda is equal to h by p. So what is p there? So p value you have to elaborate by to calculate this one. So what is the formula we are having? So h is equal to square root of 2m e k, means kinetic energy. This is the formula we are having. Okay, so here h is the Planck's constant. Okay, h is the Planck's constant. Here Ek, so means kinetic energy at this ground state value you have to put. So what is the value you are getting here? So the kinetic energy at that point is 13.6 electron volt. 13.6 electron volt. But when you are substituting the values here, h, so that is 6.62 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second. So you have to take it in SI units. So this should be converted as 13.6 into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 joules. Okay, it is converted into joules now. Now put the values. Here this lambda is equal to, take the value of h, it is 6.62 into 10 raised to minus 34 divided by square root of 2 into mass 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 into, put the value of kinetic energy, it is 13.6 into 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. Okay, yes. Now it is 6.62 into 10 raised to minus 34 divided by square root of 2 into 9.1, 18 into 13 into 1.6. You will get around 400 and odd, something nearly around 405 or 406 something you will get. Okay, if you multiply these values. into 10 raised to, here minus 31 is there and here minus 19 is there. So total how much you will get? Minus 50 you are getting. Okay. Now 6.62 into 10 raised to minus 34 divided by, see, square root of 400 is 20. So it is 405. So something around 20.5 we can take approximately. Okay, nearly you will get. So 20.5 into 10 raised to minus 25. Okay. Now this is a 6 divide, like this is just like a 7 divided by 20. Okay, something around how much you will get here. So if you calculate that, so something around 1 by 3. 1 by 3 means so 3 so 0.33 something you will get. Okay, so 0.33 into, it is 10 raised to minus 34. Okay, 10 raised to minus 34, it is 10 raised to minus 25. If it comes to the numerator, it will become plus. Okay, so then it is 10 raised to minus 9. Okay, it is 10 raised to minus 9. If I write in term, if I take adjust the decimal here, you can write this as 3.3 into 10 raised to minus 10. So my answer will be lambda is equal to 3.3 angstrom. Okay, it is 3.3 angstrom. So this is the answer what you are getting for this. So you have to just substitute the values of that. So by substituting values, you are getting lambda is equal to 3.3 angstrom. So the option what you are getting there is option B. That should be your answer. Let us go to the next one. Yes, what is our next question? The following graph represents. Okay, you just go through with the graph. I will just draw that. So this is theoretical question, 44th one. Okay, this is anode potential. Anode potential. So here the graph is like this. Yes. So here it is photocurrent. Photocurrent. Okay. Yes, that's it. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Okay. Now, if you see the options, it is they have given it is gamma, so you can consider it as nu. It is a frequency. They are asking about frequency and intensity there. So they are asking the relationship between, or they are giving the values for that nu1, nu2, nu3, and I1, I2, I3 intensities. Okay. Now, yes, I will go to that question. So this is the graph between photocurrent and anode potential. Okay. Now, what is this exactly? So what is this? So this is, see, the potential, the photocurrent or the potential at which photocurrent becomes 0. So that is called stopping potential or retarding potential. Okay. The potential at which photocurrent becomes 0. So that is called retarding potential or stopping potential. Okay, what is this? This is retarding potential. Okay, this is retarding potential. Along this minus x-axis, this is retarding potential. Now, when you observe these two, that is 1 and 2, curve 1 and 2. So if you observe these two, both are having the same stopping potential. See here, okay, when you observe this one, both 1 and 2 are having the same stopping potential. If the stopping potential is same, then both are having the same frequencies. Listen this one. If the stopping potential is same, then the frequencies are same. So I can write this as nu1 is equal to nu2. Okay, the frequency of the first curve and second curve is same. Nu1 is equal to nu2. 1 is over. Now, if you observe the photocurrent of 1 and 2, 1 is here, photocurrent 1 is here, photocurrent 2 is here. So it means that photocurrents are different. So photocurrent is different means what about the intensity? What about the intensity? Intensity may not be same. Okay, so if both were reaching at the same point, then intensity is same, but both are not at the same point. That's why intensity is not same. So you can say that I1 is not equal to I2. I1 is not equal to I2. That's it. So when you see the options there, when you see the options which is suitable there, option A is suitable, you just mark it. Okay. Yes, we'll go to the next one. Go for 45th question. Okay. The period of revolution of an electron revolving in nth orbit of hydrogen atom is proportional to. Okay. So here T you need to calculate. T you need to calculate. So value of T is 2 pi r upon V. Okay, this is the formula. So period of revolution is T is equal to 2 pi r upon V. When you observe the options given there, so all are in terms of n there. Okay, so that's why to find out the relation between T and n, you need the formula of R and V. Okay, so what is R there? What is R? So here R is equal to n square s square epsilon naught divided by pi m z e square. Okay, and V is, so V is equal to z e square divided by 2 n h epsilon naught. So here R is there and here V is there. Okay, both the values we have got. So we are interested in only n values, because when you see the options, we are interested only in n values. Now here R is directly proportional to what? N square. R is directly proportional to n square, and V is inversely proportional to n. So here V is inversely proportional to n. Now when you take this T here, when you take this T, so T is equal to, okay, directly proportional to R. R is here, so it is n square divided by V is here, so it is 1 by n. It is 1 by n. So how much you are getting? It is n cube. What is the relation between T and n here? It is T is proportional to n cube. This is our answer. Okay, option C is your answer. Yes. So the next one. Angular momentum of an electron in hydrogen atom is 3h by 2 pi. 3h by 2 pi. Okay. The kinetic energy of the electron is, the kinetic energy of the electron is, they have given angular momentum. Angular momentum notation is L. So they have given L is equal to what? 3h by 2 pi. Okay. Now here I want the value for n here. I want the value for n. So what is the angular momentum for nth electron? So that is 3n by 2 pi. Okay, 3n by 2 pi. So here you are getting the value of n. So that is n is equal to 3. We have got the value of n, that is n is equal to 3. Now what is the kinetic energy of an electron in the nth orbit? Okay, of an hydrogen atom. So that is kinetic energy of a nth electron is minus 13.6 divided by n square. This is the formula. What is that? Kinetic energy is equal to minus 13.6 divided by n square. So it is minus 13.6 divided by n square. Already we have got the value of n. It is 9. 13.6 divided by 9. So if you calculate that, 13.6 divided by 9, something around 1.5 you will get. Okay. So if you see the options there, okay, if you see the options, the suitable is 1.51. So directly I can take that. It is minus 1.51 electron volt. But here we are getting minus. Okay. So the kinetic energy of nth electron is equal to minus of total energy. Okay. It is minus of total energy. So this will become positive. So our answer is 1.51 electron volt. That's it. So option B is suitable there. Yes. We'll go to the next one. Yes, 47th question. This question is completely theoretical. Okay, you just have a look over the diagram. a beam of fast moving alpha particles were directed towards a thin film of gold. The parts A, B, C of the transmitted and reflected beams corresponding to the incident parts A, B, C of the beam are shown in the adjoining diagram. The number of alpha particles in, okay, so where it is minimum, where it is maximum, they have given. Now when you see the diagram there, okay, when you observe the diagram, in that diagram from A, B, C, the alpha particles are incident, they are going from A, B, C, okay, but the transmitted or the reflected alpha particles are you are getting at A dash, B dash and C dash, okay. Now see, when you take an atom is hollow, okay, atom is hollow, whole mass is concentrated in a small space, that is nothing but nucleus, okay. So alpha particles are positive, so they are not attracted by the nucleus, okay, they are not attracted by the nucleus. So at the center you are having, see, at the center you are having the gold sheet, okay. So from here the alpha particles are coming, they are striking, and they are, some are diverting, some are reflecting, some are going without diverging, okay. When you observe A there, when you observe A, what amount of A is coming from here, okay, without deviating, okay, without deviating, it is going, it is going. So what you can take here is, so in A to A dash, in A to A dash, the value of alpha particles in A and A dash is the same. So I can say that alpha particles at A dash is maximum, okay. See, at A dash it is maximum, okay. Now when you see B and B dash, from B it is going, it is colliding with the gold plate there, so then it is diverting back, means it is reflecting back. So at B dash whatever we are getting, so we are getting a minimum alpha particles, okay. And if you take C and C dash, so C it is coming, so it is diverging, it means it is diverting and it is going somewhere, so it has got some minimum alpha particles. So my final answer here is, so A dash will get the maximum alpha particles and B dash will get minimum alpha particles, okay. Just have a look over the options there. First option, B dash is minimum and C dash is maximum, so it is not the answer. So next is A dash will be maximum and C dash minimum, no. A dash will be minimum, no. C dash will be minimum, no. So if you see all the options there, A, B, C, D, none of the options suits here, okay, none of the options suits here. So your answer should be A dash is maximum, B dash is minimum. So options, what they have given, so we don't have our answer there. So this should be your answer. In A dash will be maximum and B dash will be minimum, okay. Let us go to the next one. Yes, I will see that question, okay. Now next question, two protons are kept at a separation of 10 nanometer, okay. Let Fn and Fe, the nuclear force and the electromagnetic force. What is that? Fn nuclear force and Fe electromagnetic force. So there are two protons are kept at what distance? D is equal to 10 nanometer, okay, 10 nanometer it is, okay. Now what you have to find out, which is maximum, which is minimum, okay. Now in yes, in the theory part, what we have learned, the nuclear force is the strongest force in nature, okay. Nuclear force is the strongest force in nature. How much strong it is? It is 100 times greater than the Coulomb's force and 10 raised to 38 times greater than the gravitational force, okay. We say that it is the strongest force in the nature. But the problem with the nuclear force is it is very short range force. See, it is very short range force. What is the range of the nuclear force? The range of the nuclear force is it is very strong. It is very strong at 1 FM. It is femtometer. Okay, femtometer. 1 femtometer means how much? It is 10 raised to minus 15 meter. Okay, it is strong at 1 femtometer. If you come at the distance of 2.5 FM, 2.5 FM. its value goes on decreases, means it will become minimum. That much short range force it is. Okay, but if you come to electromagnetic force, its range is infinity. Okay, its range is infinity. It is a very strong force. Okay, so now what is the distance between the two protons here? 10 nanometer. But what we are discussing in femtometer is 10 raised to minus 15. Okay, 10 raised to minus 15. So here, yeah, that's why this is 10 raised to 9. This is 10 raised to minus 9 meter. So there is no comparison between these two. That's why I can say that nuclear force is very, very small compared to electromagnetic force. So which option you will choose here? Fn should be very, very less compared to Fe. Okay. So option 2. Option B you can choose here. Yes, we'll go to the next one. Yes, during negative beta decay. During negative beta decay. So before going to the options, I will just tell the theory of beta decay. In beta decay, we are having two decays, positive beta decay and negative beta decay. Okay, what happens in beta decay? In beta decay takes place due to the ejection of antineutrino and neutrinos. Okay, antineutrino and neutrinos. So these antineutrino and neutrinos are neutral particles. They emit from the neutrons. They emit from the neutrons. So the ejection of antineutrino is called as negative beta decay, and ejection of neutrino is called as a positive beta decay. Okay. So when the neutron loses these particles, so then that is called as beta decay. So according to that, which option suits here? Obviously, you have to go for neutron. So option C, neutron in the nucleus decays emitting an electron. That should be your answer. Okay, go for the next one. Yes, question number 50. A radioactive element has half-life of 15 years. What is the fraction that will decay in 30 years? Okay. The same question, you can apply the formula and you can calculate, but logically in a very short time you can answer for this. So what is the half-life time here? Half-life is 15 years. Okay, half-life is 15 years. What is happening in half-life? So in half-life, that radioactive element decays to 50%, means it will become half. 50%, it will become half. So how many years they have given here? 30 years. So when they have given 30 years, how many half-lives are there? There are two half-lives here. Okay, so as there are two half-lives, I can say that it is 1 by 2 into 1 by 2, two half-lives. So how much you are getting here? 1 by 4. 1 by 4 is nothing but 0.25. 0.25 means after two half-lives, okay, after two half-lives, so what is the matter, what is the radioactive element remained there? That is only 0.25. Then what about 0.75? 0.75 has decayed. 0.75 has decayed. So your answer should be, here it is option C, that is 0.75. Okay. So we will go to the next question. Yes, see the next question. There is nothing much to calculate in this question because in 51st question, okay, what they have given one circuit. In this circuit they have given 220 volt, that is the input voltage. So that 220 volt is VRMS. Okay, VRMS is equal to 220 volt. They are asking you to calculate the voltage across the capacitor. Okay, the voltage across the capacitor is peak voltage. Okay, that is output voltage. So that is peak voltage, that is VP. Okay, VP is, you have to calculate. So VP is equal to what? VRMS into root 2. Okay, VRMS into root 2. That's it. It is 220 into root 2 volts. That is the answer. Option D. Yes, go for the next one. Yes, this is pretty interesting one. I will just draw that. So it is 52nd question. Here we are having the logic circuit. They have given NAND gates. Okay, so this is the output, P and Q. This is P and this is Q. So here P is connected to this gate again. Okay, and this Q is connected to this gate. Okay, now already inputs they have given, one input they have given. So what is that? It is 1 0. Here 1 is there, here 0 is there. Okay, outputs have been shorted. Again outputs are connected to the inputs here. Now inputs they have given, they are asking you to find out the value of output. So without taking output condition, you can't calculate the values of P and Q. That's why what I do, I consider that the value of P is 1. The value of P is 1. If P is 1, then the same P is coming here. So then the inputs are 1 0. Inputs are 1 0. If it is 1 0, 1 0, the output of the NAND gate will be 1. Okay. Now give that 1 to this gate, then the inputs are 1 1. Okay, as the inputs are 1 1, so the output should be 0. But what the value you have taken? It is 1. So it is not suiting. Okay, it is not suitable. That's why you can't take this inputs. You can't take this value of P and Q as 1 and 1. Okay, you just leave that. Now I will change the condition. Yes, here I will take P value as 0. Okay, if I take 0, so input is 0 here, 0 0 0 0. What I will get here? See, 0 0. I will get 1. Output Q as 1. Now take that 1 here. So the inputs are 1 1. Output of the NAND gate is 0. See, it is verified. That's why you can take these values as your answer. So P should be 1, Q should be 1. P should be 0, Q should be 1. So it is 0 1. So 0 1 means your option B should be your answer. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, in 53rd question, a positive hole in a semiconductor is. Positive hole in a semiconductor is. So in semiconductor, what is the meaning of hole here? Now, if you take the semiconductors, so silicon if I take, so this is silicon, okay, and here I am having silicon. So these two silicon atoms are bonded by the covalent bonds, okay. So in between the covalent bonds, you are having the electrons. So in the orbit, so suppose this is one electron and this is one electron. Due to the sharing of the electron, covalent bonds have been formed between the two silicon atoms. Now what happens here? If you give some energy to that, if you supply some energy to that, due to the energy, so the electrons which are present in the covalent bonds, so here covalent bonds will break, and due to the breaking of the covalent bond, electron is jumping from lower orbit to the higher orbit. Okay, suppose it has come here, then what is remained at this point here? So here what we are getting is a vacancy. Here what we are getting is a vacancy. It is a vacancy of electron. So then it is called as hole. It is called as hole. So that is also called as a vacancy. Okay, that is also called as vacancy. So vacancy of electron is called as hole. So holes are positive and electrons are negative. Okay, yes, let us go to the next question. Yes, so in the next question, you just go through with that, just read it. I will explain that. Yes, see the next question. Yes, two long straight parallel wires are a distance 2D apart. Okay, they carry steady equal currents flowing out of the plane of the paper. The variation of magnetic field B along the line x dash. Okay, so here you need to find out the graph. Which graph is suitable here? Force due to two parallel conductors here. So let us take two parallel conductors. So this is one conductor, straight conductor. This is one straight conductor. Okay, let us name this as 1 and 2. Both are 2d apart. The distance between them is 2d. Okay. Now they are identical. So the current flowing in them is I. So this is also I. They have told that current is flowing out. Okay. Current is flowing out. So this is the direction I am taking. This is the notation I am taking here. So the current is flowing out. Okay. Now, as the current is flowing in the same direction, so both the conductors will attract each other. Both the conductors will attract each other. The force is acting inward. Okay, that's why. So both the conductors are attracting each other. Okay. Now, due to the flow of current, so the magnetic field is produced in this conductor. So let us write that. So the magnetic field produced is B1. So B1 is equal to mu naught into I divided by 4 pi R. This is the formula. Okay. And due to this magnetic field, magnetic field is produced in the second conductor. So that if I write, so it is B2 is equal to mu naught into I divided by 4 pi R. There is no change in the value of the magnetic field because the same amount of current is flowing there. So that's why identical magnetic fields you are getting. Okay. But here, according to the direction of the current, the magnetic